A Senate bill that would create a regulatory framework for crypto and digital assets has now been put on hold after Coinbase's CEO Brian Armstrong opposed that latest version of the legislation. Joining us right now, Republican Senator David McCormick. He's on the Banking Committee's Digital Assets Subcommittee. Good morning to you, Senator. Take us behind the scenes, because it felt like we were just so close to something happening here. And then I don't know if you think that Brian Armstrong pulled the rug, or there were just elements of the bill that required the rug to be pulled.
Well, good morning, Andrew. Yeah, listen, there was a markup scheduled that got pushed, but I'm still pretty optimistic about this. I mean, we have made enormous progress with Chairman Scott, Banking Committee, Subcommittee Chair Lummis, and my colleagues Bernie Moreno and Senator Haggerty have really made an enormous amount of progress. There's still some sticking points. And there's a number of amendments and things being kicked around that I think can potentially resolve those. But the key here is we've got to have a framework that creates certainty, that allows for the innovation and at the same time keeps our banking industry healthy and intact. And I think there's going to be a path through that. But it's very complex and it's going to take a while. Well,
let's get into the weeds just for a second. So this is what Brian Armstrong says that he's raising his objections over. And we may have to explain some of this to the audience. The first is he believes that this effectively would erode the CFTC's authority, making it, as he says, quote, subservient to the SEC, that the bill would do that. The second is he believes that it gives the government, quote, unlimited access to investors' financial records. And the third piece is that he believes that this draft amendment effectively would kill what's called rewards, if you will, on stable coins. How would all of that be overcome?
Well, there's a number of issues that a number of market participants and banks have included in the mix, and there's been a lot of resolution. I think sort of the key rub is, how do you embrace the innovation, which America needs to do to make sure we remain the leader, where we have the capital, we create consumer confidence, guard against illicit finance. And part of that is by having rewards that incent people to adopt crypto, but doing that in a way that doesn't disadvantage banks where there's a significant outflow of deposits, and to create an environment where there's adequate competition. And that's a hard thing to get right. It's a balancing act. But there's lots of good ideas floating around. And, this is not to have a markup pushed happens all the time. Right. And this is a particularly complex piece of legislation. So, I wouldn't lose sight of the fact that we've made an enormous amount of progress. And now the question is, over the next couple of weeks, how do we resolve some of those open issues and get a piece of legislation that we can get bipartisan support for? And listen, I want to say one point on this, Andrew. The reason it's so important is, if you don't have that certainty, capital and talent is like water. It's going to go the path of least resistance. So America needs to be in a leadership role here. And if you don't do that, you're going to have regulators that are going to go back and forth depending what party's in charge. We saw that under the last administration. So we need a legislative fix that the president can sign and give everybody certainty.
Senator, do you think that Brian Armstrong and Coinbase have too much power as it relates to this bill and the regulation itself? It's unusual that sort of one constituency, if you will, and which is, of course, poured an enormous amount of money and lobbying dollars and effort into this in Washington, was able to maybe change the dynamic, in a day.
I don't actually think that's the case or what happened here at all. There's, I've over the last week had a number of conversations with significant players in the crypto space. And on Monday, I spent the day with community bankers from across Pennsylvania in Juniata County. So there's lots of voices. There's lots of support for various aspects of it and lots of concerns about other aspects of it. So I don't think it's the case that one player, Brian Armstrong or anybody else, has been the deciding voice. I think this is a complex piece of legislation that's going to have lots of inputs, lots of interest. And, I think we've made huge progress, but we're now on the final strokes, and it's going to take another round of negotiations.
Senator, I got to ask you about the other big headline in the news, and I'll ask it in this context. You worked in the Treasury Department under Hank Paulson during the financial crisis. Hank Paulson and a number of former Treasury secretaries, as well as all of the living former Fed chairs, have come out publicly and effectively decried the Department of Justice investigation into Jay Powell and have said that they believe that Jay Powell is a man of integrity. Do you believe Jay Powell is a man of integrity? Do you decry or support effectively this investigation?
Well, the moment this came out, I made a statement which essentially said four things. Fed independence is absolutely critical. It's a key aspect of our economy. I do believe, as President Trump has said, that Jay Powell has been wrong on interest rates, and so I think that's a legitimate critique. In terms of overspending on the construction project, there's a way to deal with that, which is to have the chairman come before the Senate, before the House, and testify and be held accountable. I think that accountability is important. And no, I don't think Jay Powell has engaged in criminal activity.